Well, 8 civilians are also reported to have been killed, 6 of them in regime airstrikes on the town of Jisr al-Shugur. Well, despite a truce, Russian and regime aircraft have sharply increased their aerial bombardment of the region. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has strongly condemned the airstrikes. Well, for more analysis, I'm joined now by France 24's in-house expert on jihadist groups, Wassim Nasr. Wassim, just tell us what's happened there in Idlib during the course of the last 2 days.
Well, in the last 2 days, actually, it's northern Hama in the Idlib enclave. There was an attack conducted by rebel and jihadi forces against a town called Hmeimat, which is a very strategic town, knowing that in this town there's a small hill, and here we are seeing the beginning of the offensive, and you see the hill. This is the strategic hill that was controlled for a very short while in 2013 by the Nusra Front, then taken back by the Syrian army, which controlled it up to the day before yesterday. So this is the beginning of the rebel and jihadi offensive. They were able to overrun the army in this hill, but this morning at dawn the army succeeded in taking back the hill because, as you see, a heavy bombardment by Russian and Syrian Air Force and also by artillery. So the rebels lost many fighters, the jihadis lost many fighters too, but the Assad army also lost many fighters in this battle. And in a parallel way, there's also a battle in the outskirts of Latakia, and here we see one more time Hmeimat. You see the destruction. This is drone footage by HTS. You see this destruction that permitted the army to take back this strategic town. And in the same period, there was attacks in the countryside of Latakia, this time conducted by Hurras al-Din, which is a faction close to Al-Qaeda. At the same time, we had those 2 attacks in the last 48 hours.
Okay, so there's been quite a spike, hasn't there, in the death toll in recent days. What do you read into the timing of that spike?
Well, the timing of the attack in the Latakia countryside and this attack in Hama, you have to imagine that jihadi groups like HTS and the rebels are trying to have their momentum in Hmeimat, but also hardcore jihadis are trying to have their momentum in the Latakia countryside for many reasons. One particular reason is raising funds. You have to fight the regime to be able to raise funds. And if we look at this map here, we see the blue dots are Turkish observation points. The orange ones are Iranian observation points, and the red ones are Russian observation points. And you see Hmeimat, where the fighting is ongoing. The gray zone is supposed to be the demilitarized zone. So the importance of Hmeimat is because of its strategic position, because it overlooks many towns. So the group or the entity that controls Hmeimat can conduct attacks very far into rebel territory or into regime territory. So this is why the regime wanted to take back this town. But also the jihadis and rebels are trying also to have their moment by pushing back the offensive that started a few months ago by the Syrian army. Despite the little gains on the ground, they are trying also all the time to surprise and to have preventive attacks against the regime in order to forbid him from building up a force that could take over their zones. And what we should see in particular is that since months the fight is here in this area between observation points. It didn't go any further on the other side of the map, like in western Aleppo. And we see that, for example, Iranian militias and Shia militias aren't getting involved in the fight up to this point. We had rumors of their involvement yesterday in Hmeimat. It ain't confirmed yet, and it is a way for Iran to prove that it is indispensable on the ground and that Russian air power isn't enough to overrun the rebels, without forgetting the deals between Moscow and Ankara, that Ankara is staying on the side despite losing many fighters from regime artillery fire.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that. France 24's Wassim Nasr, an expert on jihadist groups. Thank you.